we're about to do the Frank Sinatra Anthem. And I didn't have it on the playlist. And then Jamie said, oh no, it's going to be on the playlist. You have to do My Way. And I said, everybody does. Like, yeah, you have to do My Way. And we've been married a long time. A lot of people don't know that. We've been happily married 27 years, 30 total. All right. So this is. I'm going to try to make it through this. I wrote notes. A lot of you don't know this, but sometimes I have a tendency to talk a little bit too long. I know you don't know that. Shocking. But anyhow, all seriousness, thank you to all of you for coming. I can't think of a better way to start the 6th decade of my life with all of you. If you received an invitation tonight to this event, it's because at some point you had a significant impact on my life. And I really mean that, every one of you. If you got an invitation to this, you had a significant impact on my life. And I just wanted to spend a few hours surrounded by the people in my life who meant the most to me. No. You all have a lot more in common with one another than just knowing me. In this room, okay? And I'm not going to tell you the names, because some of you have been my friends for decades, but yet somehow you didn't meet each other. And I don't know how that happened. And but in this room, I kind of gave away the store, but you've got the Chief Financial Officer of National Guard Bureau. You have a Marine turned computer programmer, and I don't know what the hell else he does. I don't speak computer, but you've got a guy that went from just being, I met him, he was a private, and I was a PFC in October of '80 in the Marine Corps, and then he's the director of IT for a K-8 school. You know, we have a retired civil affairs full colonel. We have a former commander of a Special Forces A-team and an infantry company in the 82nd Airborne. Okay? We have an individual here who coached the United States women's volleyball team and went to the Soviet Union during the Cold War to do it. Okay? I'm going to give you one name because I just have to. And he knows it's coming. There's a guy here tonight, 2012, I nominated him for the Oklahoma Military Hall of Fame, and he went right in. Okay? Vietnam veteran. His Silver Star citation explained, and I usually get the story wrong, and he'll correct me later, and he'll be happy to make those corrections if I get it right. But he was co-pilot as a captain, Dewey gunship. Takes ground fire. Pilot is killed. Crew chief is killed. The fire severed his left arm just below the elbow, and his Silver Star citation says, working the collective with his severed limb, Captain Barkley safely landed the helicopter, saving the lives of everyone on board, and then assisted in his own medevac, and it goes on much longer than that. Boyd Barkley, my personal... So I was sent a note a long time ago. I don't know who sent it on social media. It was a scan of a handwritten note. And I know it came from a fellow teacher. I just haven't nailed down which one yet. I think I know. And a first grade teacher asked her students to write their answer to the following question. What is love? What is love? And a 6-year-old girl by the name of Emma K being the first initial last name, answered, love is when you're missing some of your teeth and you're not afraid to smile because you know your friends will still love you even though some of you has missed them. To my wife, daughters, family, and friends, thank you for loving me even when some of me has been missing. Now we're going to be My And so I face the final curtain. My friends, I'll make it clear, I'll state my case, of which I'm certain. I've lived a life that's full. I traveled east and every highway, and more than this, I did it my way. Regrets, I've had a few, but then again, too few to mention. I did what I had to do, and saw it through without exemption. I planned each charted course, each careful step along the byway, and much more than this, I did it my way. Yes, there were times, I'm sure you knew, when I bit off more than I could chew. But through it all, when there was doubt, I ate it up and spit it out. I faced it all, and I stood tall, and did it my way. I've loved, I've laughed and cried. I've had my fill, my share of losing. And now, as tears subside, I find it all so amusing to think I did all that. And may I say, not in a shy way. Oh no, not me. I did it my way. For what is a man? What has he got, if not himself? Then he has not to say the thing he truly feels, and not the words of one who kneels. The record shows Russ took the blows and did it my do here, I think, will explain. Is that Kitty Wampus? Did you fix that, Ron? The other colonel jumped in. You know, while she's doing this, let me just tell you about this person right here. That is Colonel Retired Kelly Zago. And this is what I'm talking about, excellence. She graduated in the very first class from West Point that commissioned women. Why the hell you people are friends of mine, I don't know. All right, so here we go. Let me talk about it and then we'll do it. So I'm going to read from this, and here we go. I've been thinking about great moments in history over the last 60 years. And I got to thinking about the Cold War, which ended when I was 28 years old. I think most would agree that much of the credit for winning the Cold War rightfully goes to Ronald Reagan, Margaret Thatcher, and Pope John Paul II, the first Polish Pope. But I got to tell you, for me, if I were going to give someone just a little bit more credit than all those folks or anyone else for defeating communism, collapsing the Soviet bloc, it would be one of my personal heroes, an electrician from a shipyard in Poland named Lech Walesa. He formed a movement that became known as the Solidarity Movement, which at its peak had 10 million workers. They demanded from the communist regime better pay, better working conditions, and free elections. Walesa was imprisoned by the communist regime and released under pressure from the West and the first Polish Pope. On October 27, 1991, the first entirely free Polish elections in 70 years took place, and Poland was free of Communist Party rule. 11 days later, the Berlin Wall fell, and 47 days later, the Soviet Union dissolved, all because an electrician from a shipyard said no more. All over Eastern Europe, in the cities and the villages and the hamlets and the farms, the newly freed people were waving two flags. They waved the original flag of their country, the hammer and sickle, now deposited on the ash heap of history, and they waved American flags. And someone on one of the newscasts pointed out that those American flags had 48 stars. You see, during the Cold War, those people believed we would free them. They believed in the promise of America, and they kept those flags hidden for nearly 50 years, knowing that one day they would need them. On November 16, 1989, 40 days before the Soviet Union dissolved, this electrician from a shipyard became the second foreign private citizen to address the joint session of Congress. Normally, the Joint Chiefs, the President's Cabinet, and the Vice President only attend joint sessions when the President delivers the State of the Union, but not that day. That day they were all there, and I watched it live on C-SPAN in my living room in my little apartment in Sacramento, California. 100 senators, 435 members of the House, the Vice President, 536 leaders of the free world turned out for an electrician from a shipyard in Poland. When Lech Walesa entered the House of Representatives, the Sergeant-at-Arms announced his presence in the chamber. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Lech Walesa, Chairman of the Solidarity Movement, and 536 leaders of the free world stood in solidarity and cheered for what seemed like about 15 minutes. When he got to the podium, they continued. And after a few minutes, Lech Walesa raised his hands in the World War II victory symbol, and cheering reached a crescendo. He was unaware of the protocols of the House. You see, the Sergeant-at-Arms merely announced his presence in the chamber. But it is the Speaker of the House whose job it is to present him to the Congress. When the applause finally stopped and everyone in the chamber was seated, Speaker Tom Foley said, "Members of the Congress, it is my great privilege, and I deem it a high honor and personal pleasure to present to you the Honorable Lech Walesa, Chairman of Solidarity." And 536 leaders of the free world stood again for another 15 minutes. Finally, they took their seats. And then this electrician from a shipyard said in Polish, "Mr. Speaker, Mr. President, members of the Cabinet, distinguished members of the House and Senate." And then he paused for a moment. And he spoke just 3 words in Polish, which were repeated by an interpreter. And it sounded a little like this. My naród. We, the people. And you're probably wondering why the flag is out here. Because you see all 536 leaders of the free world were cheering again. And I'm going to close out my portion tonight. And while I'm doing this special thing by Johnny Cash, I want you to think about those 3 words, those 48 star flags, and what they meant in 1989 to Lech Walesa and the people liberated by an electrician from a shipyard. Maybe what they mean to you. I just go, this is different. I walked through a county courthouse square. On a park bench, an old man was sitting there. I said, your courthouse is kind of run down. And he said, well, it'll do for our little town. I said, your flagpole leans a bit. That's a ragged old flag you got hanging on it. And he said, have a seat, and I sat down. Is this your first time in our little town? I said, I believe it is. And he said, well, I don't like to brag. I'm kind of proud of that ragged old flag. You see, she got a hole right there when Washington took her across the Delaware. And she got powder burns the night that Francis Scott Key sat watching her and writing, oh, say, can you see? She got a bad rip in New Orleans, Packingham and Jackson tugging at her seams. And she almost fell at the Alamo alongside the Texas flag. She waved on, though. She got cut with a sword at